Welcome back to TRT World. A reminder of our top story. Thousands have rallied in Lebanon in support of President Michel Aoun. It was the biggest counter-protest since anti-government demonstrations began last month. Prime Minister Saad Hariri stepped down last month, but it's done little to appease those protesters who want the entire government gone. You're watching live pictures from Beirut. As you can see, they're back on the streets. And for more on this, Owen Holdaway joins us now from Beirut. He's been following the latest on the protests for us. Owen, Michel Aoun was speaking earlier, and he sounded like he was trying to unite his supporters with the anti-government protesters. So what are the chances that this could actually happen?
I think Aoun has very much tried to side himself with the protesters, and this is somewhat against also the backers in his parliament, and particularly the Mall Party and their Hezbollah backers. So it's causing a lot of conflict. According to the protesters' response to him has been a bit mixed. There were initial calls for him to resign, along with Hariri. However, some people also view him as being a little bit less non-sectarian and actually implement this potential technocratic government that these protesters really want to reform and actually tackle corruption head on.
Owen, protesters have been saying that political elite has been responsible for corruption in the state for 30 years. So isn't Michel Aoun part of that elite?
Yeah, I mean that's the call for a lot of protesters why they want him to go. Although I think there's a realization amongst the protesters themselves that they need some form of transitional government. You can't just knock away the whole system in a few days. And this transitional government that he's been calling for, of a technocratic government to basically reformulate the state, there's been amongst some protesters it's garnered some support, but there's also other backers who say no, he must go as well. So it's very interesting times as this progresses forward.
And as I can see on those live pictures in Beirut, we are watching them now where you're talking, thousands again on the streets. Now, in case that these protesters manage to get what they want, so how would the new government look like? Were there any talks about this transitional government? Who would be part of that government?
I mean, that's very much just coming into its infancy at the moment. I mean, Hariri resigned only just last week, and then Aoun's just addressed the fact that he's asked for this transitional government. The real key broker in this is what the speaker and Berry will actually come out and say, in the backers who are essentially backed by Hezbollah and the government, and they did particularly well in the last election, how they're going to react to this. Today, there's been a call on social media for a third Sunday, sort of Sunday of unity, of Sunday of continued protest, to put pressure on the government to continue to implement potentially more technocratic reforms and actually have a truly constitutional change. But it remains to be seen how the other parties, and particularly the Mall Party and Hezbollah, are going to react to that, because they have that very vested interest in the status quo.
Pretty much complicated. Now, Owen, you are there in Beirut. How does the life look like in Beirut these days? How long are these people usually staying on the streets?
I mean, it's slightly stabilised a little bit the past week after Hariri resigned. But today it's likely to swell massively, and there's bussing in of people coming in from out the city. In terms of the economics of it, it's the banks were closed for a while. They've reopened now, so somewhat normality is coming back. But I think the protests are essentially waiting to see what will happen with this transitional government and how it will act. And I've under no illusions that they will essentially shut down Beirut again if their demands are not met.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Owen Holdaway live for us from Beirut. Thanks so much for that, Owen.